Madison Police Chief Mike Koval will share disturbing statistics with city leaders tonight about a heroin epidemic that shows no signs of slowing down.
Methamphetamine is also a growing problem across this state, and the state's top law enforcement official is making a significant investment in order to hopefully bring those statistics down.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning, 6 o'clock now on this Tuesday, July 24th. Another really nice day out there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the perfect summer day.
Yeah,
it is. It's a typical July day. We have some sun, we have some heat and humidity as well. Pretty typical for this time of the year. Take a live look from the WISC-TV sky cam. Sun is up this morning, 64 degrees, winds are calm. Dew points are still in the 60s, so we're talking a little bit of humidity today as well. Here's a look at our visibility map. Still dealing with a little bit of patchy fog. Visibility is down to 1/4 mile in Boscobel, Viroqua, and Watertown, just 1/8 mile in Camp Douglas. Fog's not a huge issue, though, here in Dane County. Our temperatures over the next 12 hours are going to climb back into the middle 80s today. Once again, a northwest wind, but remaining fairly light, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lots of sunshine in our forecast as well. So far, the roads have been pretty quiet. Your first alert traffic update showing you not a whole lot of changes right now. Traffic volume still pretty light. No delays on the Beltline or in the downtown areas. I looked around the region as well. No accidents to report right now, which is always great news.
No kidding.
Had that beautiful sunrise in Platteville this morning as
yes.
well. We'll be able to see that in about 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes? Yeah.
Again.
When you do your main weather?
Maybe, yeah. I'll show it.
Cool.
I don't know if the colors are as pretty right now because, you know, it changes every second.
Good point. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we start this morning with new concerns from Madison's police department that the city's heroin epidemic is getting worse, and there's no way to know if or when a record number of deaths will go down.
17 people died from heroin overdoses over the last 3 months in Madison alone. Josh Spreiter is live with why officers think we're seeing so many of these overdoses. Josh joins us live now from the West Precinct. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Police say accessibility is a big factor for that increase. Overdose deaths were up by 467% over last year. Along with that ease of access, police believe the increased purity of heroin and the combination of fentanyl and heroin are contributing factors to this increase. Madison police responded to 83 heroin overdoses from April through June. 17 people died by overdose in that time.
We have an epidemic on our hands. We have a public health crisis on our hands that is getting worse. There are more overdoses. The drug is more powerful. The drug is being cut with fentanyl in many cases, which is a more deadly drug. And we haven't reached the point where we've started going in the positive direction yet, so it's only getting worse at the moment.
Madison police fear the number of overdoses is actually higher than their statistics because many are occurring without any report to Madison Police or Madison Fire and Rescue. Police ask that if you know anyone that has a problem to get them some help right away. And coming up in the next half hour, I'll have more on what Madison Police is doing right now to try and tackle that issue and also what you can do as well. Guys.
Thank you, Josh. That information is going to be presented to Common Council later on tonight by the police department. We appreciate it. Josh Spreiter reporting live this morning.
So speaking of epidemics, Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel is launching a new statewide campaign to get people talking more about methamphetamine problems across the state. Over the next few weeks, these no meth PSAs will run in places like La Crosse, Eau Claire, and Wausau. Those will be on TV through the end of the year. There are also radio ads playing in those markets and online video ads targeting cities and rural communities across northern Wisconsin in particular. The $225,000 campaign also includes a website, nomethwi.org. That's where people can learn more about the growing issue of methamphetamine addiction and find resources to help. Now, according to the Attorney General's office, meth use in Wisconsin increased by more than 460% since 2010.
State committee today is holding its first hearing into lowering health care costs by going to a subscription service option. That option is called direct primary care, and its clinics allow patients to access care without having to use an insurance plan. Instead, those folks pay a flat monthly fee for services. Now, this is becoming more common nationwide as people search for more affordable health care options. But right now in Wisconsin, there's no regulation to guide doctors who want to do direct primary care. The Legislative Council Study Committee will take up the issue this morning 10 o'clock at the state capitol.
Almost 6:05 right now, and a family-owned business on Madison's west side is closed for the foreseeable future after a woman drove her car into that baking supply shop yesterday morning. Workers were inside the Vanilla Bean when that crash happened, but no one was hurt. The manager says that store will reopen once that they know that the building is structurally sound. An on and off murder trial is back on today in Dane County Court after a Madison man was found competent to go through with that trial last month. 28-year-old Ronald Rideau Jr. faces homicide charges after stabbing a man to death on the city's south side in June of 2017. That's what police say. Now, detectives say Rideau Jr. was in a domestic partnership with 52-year-old Gerald Moore when he killed him last June in the apartment they shared on West Badger Road. Rideau Jr.'s trial was stopped in January after a psychiatrist testified that he was mentally unfit to stand trial. But last month, a judge ruled he was competent to do so. A date to resume the trial has not been set.
We have a first alert traffic note for people on Madison's Near East Side this morning. Construction is going to be closing down the intersection of East Main and South Livingston Streets so crews can work on the sewers at that intersection. That is right across the street from Festival Foods. That closure is expected to last until Friday. It's not the only intersection in that area right off East Wash that is closed. Crews are also doing sewer work at the intersection of South Ingersoll and East Main Streets. That closure is expected to last about 2 weeks. To Columbia County now, where a new shooting range is set to open this morning, nearly 6 years after it was first talked about.
Yeah, the range at the Mud Lake Wildlife Area near Poynette will be the first to open in that area in about 20 years. That project was approved after neighbors told the county board back in 2012 that people taking target practice in the former Swan Lake Wildlife Area were sending bullets and ricocheting onto their property off the old appliances and car parts being used as targets. The new shooting range will be open every day from sunup to sundown, except on Wednesdays when it will be closed for maintenance and be used by law enforcement. The DNR will have a ribbon cutting ceremony this morning at 10 o'clock.
Gun rights supporters are cheering a recent lawsuit settlement allowing 3D printed guns to be sold online starting next week. A man from Texas had sued the federal government after it forced him to take plans to sell those 3D printed guns off the internet. At the UW-Milwaukee Prototype Center, researchers say plastic guns have not been proven to be safe, as firing a bullet through a plastic device leads to a high chance of that plastic exploding. Plans to sell them again online, though, will be available a week from tomorrow.
It's a super interesting story.
Very much so.
Yeah, 6:07 right now. There's a new effort in Madison to help taxi drivers compete with ride-sharing companies. Coming up, we'll let you know how the mayor thinks technology can be a key to keeping them in business.
And we're looking at another pretty nice day today. Hattie's here next to talk about some possible changes, though, coming to our first alert forecast. Thanks so much for watching News 3 this morning.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. On this Tuesday morning, we're starting with temperatures in the 60s. Another great start to the day today, coming off a beautiful day yesterday. High temperatures were in the 80s across all of southern Wisconsin, and we're headed right back there again today. 83 yesterday in Madison. Will be just a degree warmer than that today. Temperatures to the north were even just as mild, 80 in Fond du Lac and 80s in Oshkosh yesterday. And if that is where you're headed today, EAA taking place, looks like a perfect forecast. Lots of sunshine expected, light northwest winds, and highs in the low 80s. So I guess just don't forget the sunscreen. We have plenty of sun in that forecast today. As Adam requested, here's a live look from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. Still showing you some pretty nice colors. More of an orange shade now than the purple shade that we had earlier, but a beautiful sunrise there. No issues with fog this morning in Platteville. That's a change from yesterday. Quarter-mile visibility, though, with some fog in Boscobel and Viroqua. Camp Douglas also dealing with a little bit of fog early today, as well as Watertown. Our temperatures, as I mentioned, though, are in the 60s. It's a great mild start to the day. Dew points are in the 60s as well and expected to hold steady in the mid-60s, which means you're going to notice the humidity once again. It will feel humid through the day today. Satellite and radar trends, though, very quiet around here. Nothing showing up on the satellite or radar map for several states around us as well, so very quiet conditions expected. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. Temperatures will climb pretty quickly through the 60s this morning into the 70s, right around 80 by lunchtime. Mostly sunny skies expected with a high of 84 degrees. No rain in our forecast today, although there may be a slight chance for a lake breeze to develop with a few showers along that. Otherwise, very comfortable through the evening hours. And then for tomorrow, another warm day. High temperatures will be back in the 80s, but there will be a chance for some showers and thunderstorms, especially late in the day. Now, total rain amounts are likely going to be pretty light here across southern Wisconsin. Looks like the best chance for rain will be just north of our viewing area. Here's a look at our extended forecast then. 80s today and tomorrow. Those rain chances returning late on Wednesday, and then much cooler as we head into Thursday and Friday with highs back in the 70s. Now let's get a look at First Alert traffic this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it's a quiet start on the Beltline this morning. Really nothing to slow you down yet in either direction at this point. Checking out roads here in Dane County. There are a few brake lights in the usual spots on Verona Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline ramps. No delays showing up downtown right now. Volume shouldn't be a factor at least for another half hour or so. And other main routes heading into the city are cruising along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or delays. Your First Alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. City leaders will talk later today about how to split the cost of repairing a stretch of road on Madison's east side. Construction on Buckeye and Cottage Grove roads is set to start next year. Both the city and county do want to rebuild those roads. However, they won't be able to get millions of dollars in federal funding unless they agree on how to share the costs. Common Council plans to vote on a resolution tonight that would make the city responsible for routine maintenance of both of those roads. Now we expect Mayor Paul Soglin to oppose that proposal at a press conference this afternoon. He's insisting the county pick up the costs of repairing and maintaining Buckeye and Cottage Grove roads since it's in Dane County's jurisdiction. We'll have an update on Mayor Soglin's stance on News 3 at 6.
A new ordinance supported by the mayor would help traditional taxi services be more competitive with ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft. The former taxi driving mayor will introduce that change tonight at the Common Council, which would allow cab companies to offer special fares for people who book a ride through an app on their phones. That fee would be $8 for any rides within the downtown area or $2.50 for any rides that start or end outside of that area. The mayor has fought to regulate ride-sharing companies in the city the same as taxi companies for the last several years.
A decision to remove a Confederate monument in Madison is being pushed back to next month. That monument is inside the Forest Hills Cemetery. It's been there for more than 100 years. It lists the names of 140 Confederate soldiers. Now, Common Council voted to remove that monument back in April, but the final decision is up to the Landmarks Commission. That group met last night and ultimately decided to table making a final decision until next month. People in favor of removing the monument say that it glorifies slavery. Those against the removal say doing so would erase history from the site.
It's quarter after 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. The UW wrestling team is planning ways To honor a former teammate who died in a car crash earlier this month, we'll hear from his coach here in a couple of minutes.
And Hattie's talking about the chance for some rain and cooler temperatures over the next couple of days. But wow, Platteville and still coming up with some beautiful shots there. Enjoy the warmth today. The updated First Alert forecast is next on News 3 this morning.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. The WISC-TV Skycam shot this morning. Sun is up, skies are clear. We have a great start to the day today. Temperatures are going to warm pretty quickly today. We're in the 60s right now, 64 here in Madison and Mineral Point, 65 in the Dells. Have not seen a lot of movement on these temps. We're likely at the morning lows. Temperatures over the next 12 hours will only go up from here through the 70s quickly today, back into the mid 80s this afternoon. It still is going to feel a little bit on the humid side today. Our extended forecast calls for heat and humidity through the middle of the week. A cold front late on Wednesday will bring a chance for showers and thunderstorms, and then cooler weather for Thursday and Friday. Have a wonderful day.
Hattie, thank you so much. 6:20 right now, and the UW-Madison wrestling team continues to mourn the loss of a teammate this morning, and now the athletes and coaches are planning ways to honor Eli Stickley this upcoming season.
He meant so much to this program and to his teammates, and we want to continue to celebrate with his family. For now, I ask that you keep him and his family in your prayers.
So that's head coach Chris Bono talking about Stickley. The 21-year-old died in a car crash in Illinois earlier this month. His girlfriend told police Stickley was showing her a video on his phone while he was driving just before the crash. Both Stickley and his girlfriend were wearing their seatbelts, but the airbags in the car did not deploy. Stickley was an academic All-American wrestler and an NCAA qualifier.
Madison Police Chief Mike Koval says he will look at a picture of him with a 5-year-old boy as a reminder if he's ever having a bad day. That little boy, Dominic May, was buried with police honors yesterday. He had dreamed of becoming a police officer when he grew up, dressed as an officer for Halloween. He met Chief Koval earlier this year and they took this picture together. The chief thanked Dominic in a blog post on Monday for reminding him how to live a life worth living. Dominic died last week when his neighbor accidentally backed into him with a car. We have posted his obituary over on channel3000.com. Dominic May was just 5 years old.
And Chief Koval's remembrance that he posted yesterday was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
Very much.
6:21 right now. There are hearings on Capitol Hill this morning looking at cybersecurity in the upcoming election. The day's top stories are coming up,
including the latest on Harley-Davidson and how investors are not excited about the company's earnings report out in a couple of hours. The news back in the morning on News 3 this morning.
Madison police will share new statistics with city leaders tonight showing even with Narcan, opioid deaths quadrupled to start the summer.
And 2 weeks after a fatal explosion in downtown Sun Prairie, firefighters are warning there are still safety concerns in part of that city's downtown.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning. It is 6:25 right now on this Tuesday, July 24th.
We're looking forward to another nice day, albeit
Yeah.
a little bit humid out there, a little bit sticky. Hattie is out on her patio with an update. Good morning, Hats.
Good morning, Danica and Adam. Yes, it'll be a little humid today, but that's typical for this time of July. It's, after all, the end of July. Take a live look from the Edgewater Sky Cam out over downtown Madison. Sun is up this morning. We have a beautiful start to the day. Temperatures are in the 60s, still dealing with a little bit of fog, but it's not quite as widespread in southwestern Wisconsin as it was yesterday. Visibility is down to less than a mile in Boscobel, near zero in Viroqua, about a quarter of a mile in Camp Douglas, quarter-mile visibility in Watertown, and near zero visibility in Juneau as well to the east. So some patchy dense fog early today. Sun should take care of that fog pretty quickly, though. We're in the 60s this morning. Dew points are in the 60s as well, so it feels a little humid outside early today. Day planner temperatures take us into the upper 70s by lunchtime. Mostly sunny skies expected through the day today with a high of 84 degrees. So enjoy the nice summertime weather that we have today. Your first alert traffic update for this hour, showing you what's happening on the roads. Maybe a few slowdowns on Stoughton Road as you approach the Beltline, but nothing too major just yet. No accidents in the area as well. So you're going at posted speeds heading into Madison. And that's your first alert traffic.
Hattie, thank you so much. Your time right now, 6:26. And Madison police are dealing with a record number of heroin overdoses this summer.
The department's second quarter data is now out, and the amount of people who died from a heroin overdose is up more than 4 times from last year. Josh Spreiter is at the department's West Precinct this morning with how officers are trying to deal with this problem. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Madison police responded to 83 known heroin overdoses in the last 3 months. In that same time, 17 people died by overdose. That's a 467% increase from 2017. Now, one of those programs working to stop the epidemic is the Madison Addiction Recovery Initiative, or MARI. Under MARI, MPD officers are able to offer many users the opportunity for treatment rather than arrest. If they choose treatment, they will be connected with an intake counselor. Officials say any little things they can do to help may just save a life.
We need to do something besides continuing to arrest and jail people when that doesn't seem to be fixing the problem. And this is what we're going with for now. It has had success in other communities around the country, so we're confident it's going to work. But we're still tweaking it and trying to get more people into our program to get them help so they're not overdosing and potentially dying in the future.
And their latest findings at the Common Council meeting, officials hope to shed some light on a problem that's certainly not going away. Now, MARI coordinator Bernie Albright says he's always willing to take those self-referral calls. You can find all of his information right now on channel3000.com. And the biggest thing, guys, is they say the police need your support in order to take this up. So a lot going on down there right now.
Without question, we'll have an update later on tonight on News 3 at 10. Josh Spreiter reporting live for us this morning. Thank you.
6:28 right now, and parts of Main and Bristol streets in downtown Sun Prairie will be closed until around the lunch hour, while sewer and stormwater pipes are tested this morning.
The city's building inspector and public works director say there are still some structural concerns in the area affected by a deadly explosion downtown. As long as that's the case, it's going to be blocked off. Police say they have finished on-site processing and evidence collection in the fenced-in area, so law enforcement has released the scene of where that explosion took place. Detectives and state fire marshals are continuing to look, though, into what led to that explosion and whether anybody is at fault.
Meanwhile, a boy from Lake Mills who's been selling lemonade to raise money for the Sun Prairie community will get to meet some of the city's firefighters this week. With the help of his family, Gavin Martin, who you see right here, raised more than $5,000 with his lemonade stand. The Martin family plans to drop that donation off tomorrow night.
A Wisconsin civil rights group's defending a Waukesha woman who's now facing the possibility of being deported. Voces de la Frontera says Maria Portugal is a mother of 5 and a domestic violence survivor who's lived in Wisconsin for the last 20 years. The group says the federal government is threatening to deport her if her estranged husband doesn't turn himself in. Members are going to hold a news conference in Madison today to support Portugal and other Wisconsin families who are facing possible deportation. Her application for a so-called U visa, which is intended to protect domestic violence victims from deportation if they help police officers, has now been open for the last 3 years. Madison Common Council will appoint a new alder for its East Side district, one of its East Side districts, at its meeting tonight.
The Common Council is expected to appoint Michael Tierney to replace Denise DeMarb and represent District 16 until next April's election. Now, DeMarb resigned because she's no longer living in that district. According to the Cap Times, Tierney is currently a legislative aide for 2 Democratic state representatives and one of the founding members of his neighborhood association.
Last night, the council's executive committee recommended technology executive Keith Furman take the soon-to-be vacant District 19 position from Alder Mark Clear. He's been there for 11 years, but he's going to be leaving on August 7th for another job. State Journal reports Furman moved to Madison in 2013 to work at a healthcare technology startup. He told council members he wants to focus on some of the issues Mark Clear did, such as transportation and development in the West Side District. That includes the new Exact Sciences building.
The city flags flying at every municipal building here in Madison may have to be replaced after a vote at Common Council tonight. The current flag was designed and approved back in 1962. The symbol in the center is supposed to look like the Capitol, with the blue representing the lakes and the white being the isthmus. However, critics say the symbol in the middle too closely resembles a sacred Native American symbol used primarily by the Zia tribe in New Mexico. Alders will look at replacing that sun symbol tonight.
Harley-Davidson's going to release its second quarter earnings in about an hour and a half or so this morning. The stock has dropped roughly 21% over the last 6 months.
The company's had a rough couple of weeks after being called out by the president because it decided to shift some production overseas to avoid higher tariffs from the European Union. Harley claims those tariffs would make it so it would cost $2,200 more per bike for those bikes to be made in America. Leah Linscheid joins us from the newsroom with how the company is expected to do later today. Good morning, Leah.
Morning. You might have seen Harley-Davidson in some of President Trump's tweets last month when the company made that decision. The president accusing them of, quote, waving the white flag in the trade war. But the company's problems don't start there. Forbes reports Harley's first quarter shipments were down 10% year over year before its announcement to move production overseas. The company is expected to be down about 14% in sales this quarter. That's in part because of a weaker U.S. market, with the demographic of people who buy Harleys getting older. Now, Harley will officially announce its second quarter earnings before market opening at 8:30 our time. It's not clear yet what that shift in production overseas or what a weak earnings announcement might mean for the company's Wisconsin plants.
But certainly something we will keep our eye on. Leah Linscheid reporting from the News Center. Thank you so much, Leah.
6:32 right now on Capitol Hill today. Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin will take part in a hearing focused on helping the so-called blue economy on the Great Lakes. Senate committee is looking at the economic impact of the country's oceans and the Great Lakes. A recent government survey found there are more than 3 million people working in businesses dependent on the water, 2/3 of whom are in tourism. There's concern that industry would be threatened by both invasive species and tariffs.
And on Capitol Hill as well, Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman will be at a House Oversight Committee hearing about the safety of this fall's elections. The Department of Homeland Security reported Wisconsin was one of 7 states that Russian hackers tried to compromise before the 2016 presidential election. In response, the state's Elections Commission authorized hiring 6 new staffers to work on protecting Wisconsin's vote this fall. The State Journal reported last week those people will not be in place before next month's primary, but the administration expects them to be hired and trained in time for November's votes. Now, speaking of upcoming elections, a reminder that tomorrow is the deadline to register to vote in the Wisconsin primary election next month. Voters will be asked to choose the Democratic candidate for governor and the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. You can register by mail or online by visiting myvote.wi.gov.
6:34 right now. The state is launching online TV and radio commercials to fight an epidemic it thought it beat earlier this decade. That story's coming up in the morning sprint.
And the MyPillow guy ought to be paying attention because the sleep preparations for Packers training camp are underway, and they're just a little different than what you find in a typical dorm room. We'll share the details next on News 3 this morning.
6:37 now on this Tuesday morning. Welcome back to the program. We always ask you to share a little bit of your morning with us. And I was on like a food kick for a while, then an animal kick for a while. Then I really went with flowers. Now this week I was going with water. Molly posted this on Facebook of Castle Rock Lake. We had Lake Mendota, a picture from Lake Mendota yesterday, which was beautiful. This one's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Molly. It's going to be a great day to be outside.
Yeah, this is a beautiful shot. Hard to get a bad picture outside on some of these mornings too, when the sun is just blaring. So what does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it over on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram page, whatever it is. Use that hashtag MyNews3Morning, and Adam and I share our favorites every morning here on the program. 6:38 right now, and 2 members of the president's cabinet will be in Adams, Wisconsin this morning to learn more about that school district's efforts to improve mental health. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, and other federal representatives will visit Adams Friendship Middle School later on today to learn more about its school safety and wellness programs. You're seeing some video here of one of the elementary schools there. Wisconsin First Lady Tanette Walker, representatives from the state education department, parents and students will help host those visitors. We'll have updates on a roundtable discussion happening this afternoon in Adams Friendship on channel3000.com.
Green Bay Packers training camp starts later this week. That means oversized beds are needed for the players moving into the dorms at St. Norbert's College today in De Pere. Takes crews just a little bit extra to get the rooms ready for the team than it does for their average freshman, who does not weigh 275 pounds. So these mattresses are, as you can imagine, a little bigger than normal. They're also specifically designed for athletes to provide a more supportive sleep environment. This is the 61st year St. Norbert's has hosted the Packers, making it the longest standing relationship between a college and a pro football team. The Packers officially start training camp on Thursday. Very exciting.
It's hard to believe. You know, this always like sneaks up on us, right?
Yeah, it's football season.
Yeah, it is.
And people are actually, you can focus on the Brewers are doing well right now too. So
you don't have to you don't need the distraction.
Right. So it's going to be great weather for the players and fans who are going to training camp this week. There's a chance of some rain coming back into the forecast, but some cooler temperatures as well for Thursday and Friday. Hattie's sharing the details here next.
But first, it is July 24th. We want to say happy birthday to Elliot. I think that's a Mallard tag. Good work. Yeah. Charlie and all the other kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks for letting us help you celebrate here on News 3 this morning.
Very pleasant morning out on the patio. It's going to be just about the typical July day here in Wisconsin. Sunny skies, temperatures in the mid 80s, little humid. Coming up, Hattie's talking about some rain. Cooler temperatures coming through the area, though, in the next couple of days. 6:43 right now. Madison's water utility could be given the go-ahead tonight to go after area towns and cities who are behind on their bills. This would be a way Madison Water could pay back some of its own debt. The Common Council will vote tonight on giving the utility the authority to go after these delinquent accounts for municipal service bills and other water-related charges in towns and cities outside of Madison, like Middleton, Fitchburg, and Monona. The utility is looking to recoup some of that money after finding itself with a $6 million budget deficit earlier this year.
A major biotechnology company could get another $2 million from the city to help with construction costs. Exact Sciences makes and processes at-home colon cancer tests. It's finishing a new facility on the west side just off Schrader Road. The city has already awarded the company $2.5 million in TIF loans to ensure it would actually expand at that site in Madison. Exact Sciences is now asking for another loan to help build a parking garage for the estimated 1,900 employees expected to work at that new lab.
After watching the waterfall there a minute ago, Hads, I'm sorry you had to come inside for the forecast this morning.
I know, it's great to be outside. This is the best time of the year to be on that patio. Take a look at our forecast for today for All City Dive. It wraps up today, but another gorgeous day. Temperatures will be in the 60s early this morning if you're one of those first call times, but otherwise quickly warming back into the 80s this afternoon. And just like yesterday, a sunny and warm day, but a little humid as well. Now let's take a look at radar across the area. It's very quiet here. Nothing showing up on the radar map around the area, but the focus for the rain is to the east. A steady stream of moisture coming out of the ocean, moving through the northeastern part of the country. In fact, right now there are some delays in New York. All three of the major airports are reporting delays for flights arriving into New York. So if that is your direction of travel today, you might want to call ahead. Those showers and thunderstorms are already starting to back up traffic. To the west, though, things are pretty quiet. We're not looking at any major storm systems moving through the mid or western parts of the country. Just a lot of heat. Take a look at some of these high temperatures. 94 in Portland today. That's pretty warm. 97 in Salt Lake City. Triple digits near record heat in Phoenix. 116 today. Even with the dry heat, I think that's pretty unbearable. Much more comfortable here through the Great Lakes region where temperatures will be in the 80s. Here's a live look outside the Queen Bee Radio Sky Cam in Platteville. Yesterday in Platteville we had fog, but this morning quite a different story. A beautiful sunrise early today. No issues with fog in Platteville, but through the Wisconsin River Valley, visibility is down to 1/4 of a mile. Also been noting some fog near Juneau. Visibility has been at about 0 for the last 30 to 45 minutes. Temperatures currently are in the mid 60s, so it's a nice mild start to the day. Dew points, though, are in the 60s as well. 62-degree dew point in Juneau, 64 in Platteville. What that means is that you'll notice the humidity today. Dew points are expected to remain in the 60s. 82 for a high in New Glarus today, 82 as well in Stoughton, 83 for a high in Watertown. Lots of sunshine in the forecast today, even in the western part of our viewing area. 80 in Prairie du Chien, 83 in Dodgeville. And to the north, we still have low to mid 80s. We're looking at a high of 83 in Columbus and 83 in Lone Rock. Here in Madison, we'll top at 84 degrees. Yesterday, we had a high of 83, so very similar to what it was yesterday. 82 tomorrow. Chances for rain return to the area with a cold front late on Wednesday, probably most likely Wednesday night. Then it does get a little cooler for the end of the week with highs back in the middle 70s. We have a great dog in the Pet Walk forecast today. I knew you'd love this one, Danica. Kenzie in Watertown. Tongue sticking out. You're kind of hidden by the graphics. But
Smile, Kens.
Great day for a walk today.
No kidding. Kenzie's ready to rock and roll. Thank you, Hattie.
So. Morning Sprints up next here on News 3 this morning.
6:50 right now, time for the morning sprint. Hattie says it's going to be a beautiful sunny day. Leah is looking ahead to Harley-Davidson's latest earnings report set to be released this morning.
But we start with Josh Spreiter, who's sharing details about the record number of heroin overdoses in the city of Madison. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Right now, Madison police say the heroin epidemic keeps getting worse, and officials don't know when the peak of overdose cases and deaths will come. Madison police responded to 83 heroin overdoses from April through June. That's a 102% increase from last year. 17 people died by overdose in the last 3 months, a 467% increase over the second quarter of 2017. Madison police fear this number is likely even higher. Officials tell me it is likely many overdoses are occurring without any report to Madison police or Madison Fire. Police believe the increased purity of heroin and the combination of fentanyl and heroin are contributing factors to this increase. You can find out more on how Madison police are tackling this issue at channel3000.com.
Josh, thank you. Wisconsin's Attorney General is launching a new statewide campaign to address a growing meth problem here. Meth use increased by more than 460% across the state from 2010 to 2017. That's one of the many statistics highlighted by new PSAs that will start airing soon in La Crosse, Eau Claire, and Wausau. There's also a website, nomethwi.org, where people can find information on addiction and resources to help.
State committee is holding its first hearing today into lowering health care costs by going to a subscription service option. That option is called direct primary care. Its clinics allow patients to access care through a monthly flat fee without having to use an insurance plan. It's becoming more common nationwide as people search for more affordable health care. Right now, though, in Wisconsin, there is no regulation to guide doctors who want to provide that service.
Parts of Main and Bristol streets in downtown Sun Prairie will be closed until the lunch hour while sewer and stormwater pipes are being tested this morning. Police have finished on-site processing and evidence collection at the site of the deadly explosion there, but detectives and state fire marshals are still investigating. The city's building inspector and public works director say some areas will still be shut down for the foreseeable future since there are still structural concerns.
And just a little bit of patchy fog this morning. If you're north and east of Madison, visibility is near zero in Juneau. Some fog developing through the Wisconsin River Valley as well. Temperatures in the 60s this morning will climb quickly, though, through the 70s, back into the 80s, topping at 84 degrees, sunshine, and a little bit of humidity to go along with it.
Thank you, Hattie. The big weather story on the West Coast today is the extreme heat. It's making the battle against California wildfires even more difficult. Thousands of homes are in danger in the California Sierra Mountains, and the flames are threatening Yosemite National Park. It's just the beginning of a heat wave that could bring the summer's hottest temperatures to Southern California. Places in Arizona, officials are encouraging people there just to stay inside over the next few days in the air conditioning. The National Weather Service forecasts the Phoenix area could hit 118 degrees today.
The Prime Minister of Greece has declared 3 days of mourning across that country after at least 50 people died in a wildfire in a popular tourist destination near Athens. That's the worst wildfire in that country in a decade. Nearly 200 other people are in the hospital this morning with burns, including a number of children. Hundreds of people have been evacuated. CBS This Morning will have updates on this situation coming up after 7.
Closer to home now, Madison police officers are still trying to figure out why a woman drove her car into a cake shop on the city's west side around lunchtime on Monday. The Vanilla Bean will remain closed until engineers and firefighters determine that building is structurally sound. There were workers inside the store at the time of the crash. Nobody was hurt, though, including the driver.
Harley-Davidson is about an hour and a half from announcing its second quarter earnings this morning, and the news probably won't be good. The company has caught national attention thanks to the president's Twitter feed, accusing Harley of waving the white flag in the trade war. Prior to all of this, its first quarter earnings report weren't great either, down 10% in shipments from last year. Experts guess the company will be down about 14% in sales this quarter, in part because their average customer is getting older. Harley announces its numbers right before market opening at 8:30 our time.
Leah, thank you. Madison's Common Council plans to vote on a resolution tonight that would make the city responsible for routine maintenance on Buckeye and Cottage Grove roads once they are rebuilt. Now, both the city and Dane County want to rebuild those roads, but at the start of next year. But they need to figure out how to split the costs in order to get millions of dollars in federal funding to help. Mayor Paul Soglin is holding a press conference this afternoon on the topic before council meets. He has opposed any attempt to have the city pay for this. He says this falls under Dane County's jurisdiction.
Speaking of the mayor, a new ordinance supported by him would help traditional taxi companies be more competitive with ride-sharing businesses like Uber and Lyft. The former taxi driving city leader will introduce that change tonight at the Common Council, which would allow cab companies to offer special fares for people who book a ride through an app on their phones. That fee would be $8 for any rides within the downtown area or $2.50 for any rides that start or end outside of that area.
The decision on whether to remove a controversial Confederate monument in Madison is being pushed back. Madison City Council members approved that removal that lists removing the monument that lists the names of 140 Confederate soldiers earlier this year, but the final decision is up to the Landmarks Commission. That group met last night and decided to table making a final decision until next month.
Speaking of the Common Council, it will appoint a new alder to replace Denise DeMarb, the former council president, at its meeting tonight. This is on the east side of Madison. Michael Tierney was recommended by the council's executive committee to replace Alder DeMarb, who moved out of District 16. Cap Times reports Tierney started his neighborhood association after he moved to the district in 2011. He's currently a legislative aide for 2 Democratic state representatives at the Capitol.
A new shooting range is set to open in Columbia County today, nearly 6 years after neighbors first brought up the idea. The range at the Mud Lake Wildlife Area near Poynette will be the first to open in that area in about 20 years. The new shooting range will be open from sunup to sundown every day except Wednesdays. The DNR has a ribbon cutting ceremony set for 10 o'clock this morning.
6:57 almost now. Beautiful morning out weather-wise. Sunglasses kind of drive. If you're heading east, let's turn it over to Josh Tim with a look at your first alert traffic. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Well, it's starting to pick up on the westbound Beltline as it tends to do this time of the day. Just look for some brake lights between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. It's going to add a few minutes to your drive time. John Nolan beginning to slow down inbound and outbound approaching the Olin Avenue intersection, adding a couple of minutes delay there. And other main routes heading into the city are cruising along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or issues. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
And it is a beautiful start. No clouds in the sky here. We have sunshine in our forecast all day today. Take a look at your high temperature, 84 degrees right around 4 p.m. A little bit of humidity to go along with that heat today. Rain chances then return tomorrow.
All right, if you want to follow those rain chances, you can always download the Channel 3000 First Alert Traffic and Weather app. Have a great day, everybody.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.